My wife decided the perfect way to celebrate my birthday was to invite her entire family over so they could witness her handing me divorce papers. Yep, that was the surprise. I'm leaving you for someone who isn't such a disappointment, she announced with a smirk. Her father actually burst out laughing. We honestly never thought she'd go through with marrying someone so far beneath her, he said, like it was the punchline to a joke. They even brought champagne, not to toast me, of course, but to celebrate the moment they thought would break me. Instead, I gave him a smile, quietly signed the papers, and walked away without looking back. Now, 6 months to the day, she's curled up in her car, just outside my house, blowing up my phone with desperate texts, begging for a chance to talk. Honestly, I never imagined I'd be writing something like this. Part of me still thinks it sounds too surreal to be real. But this happened, every bit of it. Just a heads up, this story's going to be a long one. So, I turned 34 last Saturday. Not exactly a big milestone or anything, but Sabrina, my wife, or I guess ex-wife in progress, was acting like she had something special up her sleeve. She'd been oddly cheerful all week, always glued to her phone, grinning to herself, and being unusually secretive. At the time, I assumed maybe she was planning a surprise party or something sweet to lift our moods after all the tension we'd been carrying around lately. We hadn't been arguing much, but the atmosphere between us was heavy, cold silences, polite distance, and that unspoken feeling that something was cracking beneath the surface. We'd been together 6 years, met back in college. She was this stunning business major from a wealthy family, and I was the guy juggling 3 jobs just to scrape by, on a scholarship and cheap noodles. You've heard this one before, right? Her family never warmed up to me. Her dad, Wesley, yes, that's his actual name, straight out of a bad 80s movie, never missed a chance to drop some snide comment about my humble roots during holiday dinners. Her mom had this habit of asking about my little job, even after I got promoted to team lead. And then there was Sabrina as social media, constantly posting about our apartment like it was some quirky hardship. It wasn't fancy, sure, but was what we could afford while I pulled overtime to save up for a future. She'd slap on captions like "finding joy in the simple life," like we were some kind of charity project, always comparing us to her cousin Nova, who married a hedge fund guy and lived in what might as well be a palace. Lately, Sabrina had been spending more time with her family, coming home late from work events smelling like designer cologne. She'd get these messages that lit up her face in a way I hadn't seen in months. I wasn't clueless. I had my suspicions, but I kept telling myself, just push through, land that next promotion, make things better. So back to my birthday. I got off work and headed home. Yeah, I worked on my birthday. That's adulthood for you. But when I walked into the apartment, it was empty. Sabrina had texted saying to meet her at her parents' place for the surprise. Strange choice, considering their place was the last place I want to be on my birthday. Still, I figured maybe she was trying to bridge the gap. So I pulled up to their oversized suburban mansion. Sabrina opened the door with this odd smile, tight-lipped, eyes hollow. I stepped into their spotless living room, packed with familiar faces, her parents, her sister, Lila, a couple of cousins, some people I recognized from previous family events, everyone holding champagne glasses like they were waiting for a toast. The moment I entered, the room went still. Sabrina stepped forward and said, "Grant, we've got something really special for your birthday this year." Her dad actually snickered. Not laughed, snickered like some discount movie villain. And in that moment, I thought, did they give me a car or something? Yeah, I know, ridiculous. Sabrina reached behind her and pulled out a manila envelope. For one stupid second, I thought maybe it was plane tickets. Then she said the words, "Surprise. I'm leaving you for someone who isn't a disappointment." The room went dead silent, except for her dad, who started laughing like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. I stood there, completely stunned, trying to make sense of what just happened. That's when her dad said, "We never thought she'd actually marry someone so beneath her. Glad she's finally come to her senses." Sabrina shoved the envelope into my hands, divorce papers already pre-filled. All they needed was my signature. Her mom popped a champagne bottle like they just closed on a beach house and started pouring glasses for the crowd. This whole thing had been choreographed like a celebration of my downfall. Maybe they expected me to fall apart, cry, plead, flip the table, but instead, something inside me went cold, solid. I scanned each of their faces, self-satisfied, smug, looked at the woman I once believed I'd grow old with, and honestly, I felt nothing, like I was floating above the scene, watching someone else live it. I asked Sabrina if she had a pen. Her confident smile twitched, not quite the reaction she'd pictured, I guess. Her dad handed me his sleek Mont Blanc with this smug little flourish. I walked over to their pristine white marble counter, laid the papers out neatly, and signed every single page without saying a word. No one spoke. The only sounds were the scratch of my pen and someone clearing their throat in the background. When I was done, I looked Sabrina straight in the eyes and said, "Thanks for the birthday gift. Best one I've ever gotten." Then I turned around and walked out. No yelling, no slamming doors. Just a clean exit while they all stood frozen in their little champagne circle. The looks on their faces when I didn't fall apart almost made the whole scene worth it. I got in my car and drove. Nowhere in particular, just kept going until I ended up at some rundown bar where no one knew my name. Sat down, ordered a whiskey, then another. Scrolled through my phone as Sabrina's texts started piling up. "Why didn't you say anything? You're seriously just walking away? Are you really not even going to fight for this?" By the third drink, something in me shifted. That numbness gave way to a slow, deliberate kind of anger. Not the reckless kind, the calculated kind, the kind that plans. What Sabrina and her family didn't know was that 6 years of marriage to a woman from a rich, arrogant family gives you a front row seat to all their dirty secrets. You hear things, you notice details, their drunk accountant rambling about creative bookkeeping, the cousin hooking up with her sister's husband, the father's frequent business trips that didn't seem very businesslike. So that night, I did 3 things. First, I called my old friend Larry, hands down the most cutthroat divorce attorney in the city. Second thing I did, I combed through every message of hers I could access from our shared cloud and took screenshots of anything shady. Third, I put together a list of people, mutual friends, work contacts, even some extended family, who'd be hearing my version of the story before she could spin hers. I didn't go back to the apartment that night. Instead, I crashed at my buddy's place and passed out hard. Woke up the next morning to a phone buzzing nonstop. Sabrina again this time. The confident tone had vanished. Now her texts were frantic, laced with panic. I guess she thought I'd come crawling back. Tears in my eyes, begging to fix things, but by noon, Larry had already filed our official response to her little birthday surprise. I'd already moved smart, pulled my half of the fund from our joint accounts, left hers untouched. No point in giving her ammo. I even rented a storage unit that morning and started moving out the essentials while she was off sipping mimosas with her parents, probably still laughing at how heartbroken I must have been. Fast forward a week, I've been staying in a quiet Airbnb while figuring out my next move. Meanwhile, Sabrina's been cycling through emotions like she's stuck in a rom-com gone wrong. One minute she's smug, next she's confused, now she's furious, and calling me almost every hour. Her latest text literally read, "This isn't how this was supposed to go." No kidding. Sabrina, not for me either. Larry says I've got the upper hand, way more than she anticipated. We never had kids. Huge relief. And my name's on most of the real assets. And yeah, just in case I hadn't mentioned it yet, she's been hooking up with her coworker Dare for months now. The same guy she used to vent to about how I lacked ambition. That whole "you're a disappointment" speech she gave. Pretty rich, considering she was cheating on me the whole time. So here I am now. Still furious, sure. But that anger has taken shape. It's no longer some wild storm. It's focused, sharp. Her family thought I was worthless, treated me like background noise at every gathering. They practically held a celebration when she dumped me. But what they don't realize is this was the biggest mistake they could have made. Anyone else ever been ambushed by a public betrayal like that? I'm curious, how did you handle it? Because right now I'm walking a very fine line between keeping my dignity and lighting the entire damn bridge on fire. And honestly, watching it burn doesn't sound too bad. Update, holy hell. Okay, so I didn't expect my original post to explode like it did. My inbox is wrecked, but seriously, thank you, the support, the awards, the sheer volume of people saying, "Been there, man." It meant a lot. Also, shout out to the 3 legends who med me their lawyer recs. That was solid. Respect. So it's been 3 months since the disaster birthday, and a lot of you have been asking for an update. Buckle up because things have taken a turn. 2 days after my last post, I went back into our shared cloud account. Just trying to grab some old photos I didn't want to lose in the chaos before Sabrina had the chance to purge them. That's when I saw a folder titled Work Presentation. Seemed harmless enough, except it had a creation date that lined up with when Sabrina's behavior started getting sketchy. So, being the newly paranoid man I am, I opened it. Not a presentation, not even close. Inside were hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of screenshots from her text with Derek stretching back 8 months. Cute little nicknames, sneaky hotel plans, enough heart emojis to build a digital Valentine's Day aisle. Word of advice: If you're cheating, maybe don't store the proof in a cloud your husband has access to. Just a thought. There were selfies of them cuddled up in places she'd told me she was working late. Apparently, quarterly reports now require shirtless Derek to provide support. I forwarded everything to Larry, his exact reply. Christmas came early. This guy lives for courtroom fireworks, and he was practically giddy. That was discovery number one. After the initial gut punch wore off, I made a choice three. Actually, first, get my life back in order. No revenge plotting, no spirals, just fixing what I could control. Second, let Larry handle the divorce. No more texts, no more calls, no more drama. If Sabrina wanted to talk, she could talk to my lawyer. Third, I'd start quietly rebuilding, not to make her jealous, just to build something better for me. The apartment? Too many ghosts. I found a short-term rental, nothing special, but it had this tiny balcony with a view of the stars. First night there, I cracked a beer, leaned back, and realized something weird. I felt calm for the first time in years. I wasn't walking on eggshells. Started hitting the gym again. Not strictly for the revenge body, though I won't lie, it helped keep me going the first week. I could barely lift without my arms shaking like noodles. Now, I'm starting to see results. Turns out rage and dumbbells are a pretty effective combo. And the divorce? That's been entertaining. Sabrina apparently thought she was walking away with half my stuff and a nice monthly alimony check. Claimed she'd given up career opportunities for our marriage. Larry laughed so hard he had to mute himself on the call. Hard to play the martyr when your calendar's full of hotel meetups and NSFW lunch breaks. Then there's her family. Those moral high ground climbers who treated me like I was just some charity case she brought home. Her dad, Wesley, still posts inspirational quotes on LinkedIn about integrity in leadership and traditional family values. Guy's a walking contradiction. The moment her family realized that their precious daughter's affair might go public during the divorce, they suddenly got real quiet and real cooperative with Larry's terms. Funny how quickly self-righteousness evaporates when reputation's on the line. One odd moment came when I was picking up the last of my things from the apartment. Sabrina showed up unannounced. First time I'd seen her since the disaster of a birthday party. She looked different. Hair unkempt, no makeup and sweatpants. Sabrina, in sweatpants, she launched into this shaky speech about making a mistake, about Derek not being who she thought he was, about maybe talking things over. I didn't say much, just walked past her with my box and told her if she had anything to say, she could tell her lawyer to contact mine. The way her face crumpled, like she couldn't wrap her head around me, not begging for a second chance, was something I'll never forget. So here's where I'm at now. Divorce is basically done. No alimony. Thanks to the treasure trove of receipts, we're selling the apartment and splitting the proceeds. I told her she could keep most of the furniture. I wanted a clean slate. I've reconnected with old friends she never liked. Remember Mike? The bad influence, who once brought cheap wine to dinner? Turns out he's still solid. Now we hang out every week for board games and trash talk. I also finally launched that side hustle I always wanted to try. Customizing old furniture. Sabrina always said it was tacky. Sold my first piece on Etsy last week. Profit wasn't much, but man, it felt good. Now here's the kicker. Sabrina's family business, luxury real estate, has hit a wall. Some big development deal fell through. And funny enough, it happened not long after I had lunch with an old college buddy who now works at the company backing that project. Did I bring up Sabrina's name? Nope, just caught up, talked life. Did I accept his LinkedIn request later? You bet. Even Lila, Sabrina's sister, the one member of her family who ever treated me like a human being, reached out, told me Sabrina has been a wreck. Derek dumped her when her dad tried to get him promoted. Big surprise. The guy was only in it for the connections. Sabrina's social media went from daily hashtag blessed posts to dead silence. Meanwhile, I've been sharing quiet little wins, hikes, project pics, game nights with friends, nothing flashy, just real life. Even saw her best friend like one of my posts at 2 a.m. before unliking it. So yeah, they're still watching. Last night would have been our anniversary. I was out on the balcony, scrolling Twitter with a beer, feeling weirdly okay. When Sabrina's name lit up my screen, her text read, "I know you probably hate me, but I can't stop thinking about what we lost. I miss your dumb jokes. I miss how you still made coffee for both of us even after a fight. The apartment feels so empty. I was wrong about everything. Please, can we talk?" I'm not above begging. I stared at that message for a while, typed out a bunch of replies, then deleted them all. Eventually, I just put the phone down and went to bed. Here's the thing. 3 months ago, that message would have cracked me open. I would have done anything to hear it, but now, I'm not even sure what I want anymore. The anger's still there, just quieter, sharper, more focused. This morning, 5 more texts from her. The last one said she was parked outside my building. I looked out, and sure enough, there was her white Audi sitting in the visitor lot. I closed the blinds, made coffee, no idea what I'll do next. Part of me wants to go down and hear her out. Part of me knows that even cracking the door might undo everything I've worked to rebuild. And yeah, there's a petty little voice in my head whispering that maybe, just maybe, she should sit in that car and feel exactly what I felt that day. Humiliated, abandoned, powerless. Life's strange. 3 months ago, I thought I was ruined now. I'm kind of curious what comes next. So, it was just another regular Thursday night. I'd ordered some pizza and was halfway through binging that overhyped Netflix series everyone won't shut up about. It's honestly pretty average, but I'm already too far in to quit now. Around 11:30, I got a Ring doorbell alert. I figure it was probably one of the usual suspects, some tipsy neighbor knocking on the wrong door again. But when I checked the cam, I spotted Sabrina's car parked across the street, no lights on, just sitting there. At first, I thought maybe she was dropping someone off, but the car didn't move, not for over an hour. So, naturally, I did what any rational adult would do. I ignored it and went to bed, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The idea of her just waiting out there in the dark was too weird. Around 1 a.m., I checked again, still parked there, still dark, still her. That's when the texts started flooding in. Grant, please, I know you're home. I just need 5 minutes. I've been trying to talk to you for weeks. Please, I made a huge mistake, and the one that finally got me out of bed. I've been sleeping in my car for 2 days. I have nowhere else to go. I walked to the window, and yep, there she was slumped back in the driver's seat of her Audi, same one her dad bought her for her 25th birthday. She once called it entry level, even though it was worth more than I made in half a year. I stood there debating. A big part of me wanted to just shut the blinds and let her keep roughing it. I mean, a few nights of car camping seemed like karma at work, but I'm not heartless, so I threw on some sweats and a hoodie, stepped outside, and walked over. Her face when I knocked on the window. Rough. Her makeup was streaked, hair greasy, and she looked like she hadn't changed out of the same clothes from that Instagram selfie 3 days ago. She fumbled with the lock and practically fell out of the car in a rush to talk. First thing that hit me was the smell. Not body odor exactly, but that mix of old takeout, stress, and 2 nights without a proper shower. Then I noticed how thin she looked. Sabrina was always slim, but now it was like she'd melted down to nothing. Her cheekbones looked sharp enough to cut glass. She started talking before I could even say anything, just a flood of half-formed sentences and choked up crying. Took me a minute to piece it together. Apparently, Derek wasn't just sleeping with her. He was leaking inside info from her family's business to their competition. Once her dad found out, Derek got fired and immediately dumped her, took off with a bunch of confidential files too. But that's not even the worst part. Sabrina, in her genius, had been covering for him, altering numbers, faking reports, all because she was in love. When it all blew up, her father finally snapped, fired her, cut off her allowance, kicked her out of the family company, canceled the rent payments on her apartment. The whole package. She couch hopped for a while, but even her closest friends tapped out after a few weeks. Last roommate kicked her out when she stopped paying rent, and that's how she ended up outside my house in her overpriced starter car. I asked why she didn't just go home to the McMansion. That's when she dropped the real bomb. Her dad Wesley's company was now under investigation, thanks to Derek's little data dump. Apparently, the guy had been cooking books for years, and now everything was frozen. Accounts, assets, the works. They downsized hard. Karma, front row seats. I told her to come inside. Not because I wanted her back. I just didn't feel like waking up to a popsicle ex-girlfriend in a luxury sedan. She walked in and started crying again. This time over how nice my place was. I mean, it's nothing fancy, some furniture, a few houseplants, but after 2 days in a car, might as well be a 5-star hotel. We sat at the kitchen table while I made coffee. And she let it all out, said her parents had basically strong-armed her into the divorce once they found out about Derek, told her I was holding her back, that she could do better, and take half my stuff while she was at it. They'd even planned the birthday scene to humiliate me into signing fast and quiet. And the worst part? She realized almost immediately she'd screwed up, but her pride wouldn't let her admit it. She actually said, and I quote, "I thought you'd fight for me." I laughed, not in a cruel way. Just because, seriously? She set the whole thing up to publicly break me down, call me a disappointment in front of her smug family, serve me papers on my birthday, and expected me to what? Write a love letter? Chase after her like some sad movie glitch? I asked what she wanted now. More tears. Then she told me she wanted a second chance. Said she'd changed, grown, learned her lesson. In 6 months, somehow, she had no place to stay, no money, no real career prospects. That expensive degree was basically wallpaper without daddy's connections. And she thought maybe, just maybe, she could move in while we figured things out. I let her finish. And then I did something I never thought I would. I thanked her. I genuinely thanked her for the divorce, for pulling back the curtain and revealing exactly who she and her family really were, for shoving me out of a life I didn't belong in and forcing me to rebuild from the ground up on my own terms. These past 6 months hadn't been easy, but they've been freeing in a way I never saw coming. For the first time since college, I was living for myself, not for her approval, not to meet her parents' impossible standards. When I said that, she just stared at me like I'd grown horns. Then came more tears, more pleading. She said she'd do anything to make things right. She said she'd changed, that she never realized what she had until it was gone. I told her she could stay on the couch for one night, just one. It was late, and I wasn't about to send anyone back out into the cold to sleep in a car. But come morning, she needed to start figuring out her next move, without me in it. The way her face fell was almost cartoonish. I don't think Sabrina had ever been turned down in her life. When morning came, I made breakfast, not to prove anything, just because it's what decent people do. While we were eating, her phone rang. She put it on speaker without thinking. Maybe old habits die hard. And for the first time in months, I heard Wesley's voice. Gone was the usual smug superiority. This time, he sounded panicked. Their company was crumbling. Investors were fleeing. He needed someone with industry connections. And Sabrina had apparently told him I'd been doing well. He asked, no, practically begged, if I'd be willing to meet with him, said it could be mutually beneficial. I almost spit out my coffee. The same man who mocked me at my own birthday was now asking for my help. Sabrina looked over, hopeful and embarrassed all at once. I told Wesley I wasn't interested in working with him, but I knew someone who might be. Tessa, the woman I'd been seeing for about a month, smart, grounded, and brilliant when it comes to turning around damaged businesses. We're just friends for now, but honestly, it's the healthiest thing I've experienced in years. After a long silence, Wesley asked for her contact info. I gave it to him, ended the call, and turned back to Sabrina. That's when it finally sank in for her. I wasn't taking her back. I'd moved on. She left about an hour later with a backpack and an Uber ride to her sister Lila's place. One of the last people still willing to offer her a couch. Before she walked out the door, she asked if I'd ever forgive her. I told her I already had. Not for her. For me, carrying around that anger was too heavy. And frankly, I had better things to do, like refinishing an old dresser or finally adopting a dog. Speaking of which, meet Cooper. He's a 3-legged rescue pit bull I adopted last weekend. The guy drools on everything and has an ongoing vendetta against my socks. But adopting him? Best decision I've made in years. And that's the end of the Sabrina chapter. From champagne toasting my downfall to crashing outside my place in her car. Life has a weird sense of humor. I don't know what's next for her. Maybe she gets her act together. Maybe her family learns something from all this. But me? I'm finally excited about the future. About traveling without worrying if the Airbnb has marble countertops. About building furniture without being told it's beneath me. About letting a dog shed all over the couch without anyone making a face. For those of you who stuck with me through this whole roller coaster, thank you for the support, the advice, and even for calling me out when I needed it. It meant more than you probably realize. Anyone else ever survive a complete train wreck and come out the other side, realizing it was the best thing that ever happened to you?